You are watching the John Telford Show.
Good morning. I'm Dr. Sunanda Samadar Corrado, co-hosting the John Telford Detroit Show with you, with Dr. John Telford, coming to you live at 10 o'clock every Thursday morning on Wjzz Cool Tv, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter. Dr. Telford is a former Detroit Public School superintendent, a former world-class athlete, and conqueror of Olympic champions. An author of 6 Detroit-oriented books: The Poet Emperor of Earth, What Old Men Know, Creative Insubordination, The Will Robinson Story, The Poetic Prancings of Mad John, his explosive autobiography, A Life on the Run, and another forthcoming book, Athletes, Activism, and Apple Boughs, a Detroit poetic epic. He also has a show on WCHB AM 1340, Detroit's gospel station, Saturday mornings at 9:30 and Monday evenings at 6:30. That's Saturday mornings at 9:30 and Monday evenings at 6:30. His books are available at Barnes & Noble, Amazon.com, or just calling the good doctor 313-460-8272. That's 313-460-8272. Dr. John Telford has been called a legend and a lightning rod for controversy. He has received the Detroit City's Council Spirit of Detroit Award and the Joe Louis Foundation Spirit of the Champ Award. He was named Wayne State University's Alumnus of the Year in 2001, and a Detroit track was named for him. His website is www.alifeontherun.com, and his email address is drjohntelfordedd@aol.com. That's drjohntelfordedd@aol.com. Now, without further ado, I present to you that crusading old native Detroiter, Dr. John Telford.
Thank you, Dr. Sunanda Corrado, that PhD from Columbia University, who is an anthropologist by training. Dr. Corrado has been teaching at Wayne County Community College District for over 10 years. So why does she look like she's 17 years old? I can't figure.
It's the students, man.
Yeah. Well, she's currently a researcher for the Detroit Equity Action Lab, housed in the Wayne State University Law School, and founder and CEO of Education by Design. So Dr. Sunanda Corrado and I are welcoming Police Commissioner Bill Davis and Tawana Simpson, that tremendous school board member who had the good sense to appoint me superintendent back in 2012. Didn't work out because we were fighting the emergency financial mismanager at the time, and we're going to be talking about many things today. Among them, also the Police Commission and its function. But before that, I have to do a tribute. I must do a tribute. I am compelled to do a tribute to Dr. Lavonne Sheffield. We have lost Dr. Lavonne Sheffield, that great educator, that good friend of mine. She was my colleague when I was the executive director of community affairs for the Detroit Public Schools. And we were doing that under the Burnley administration. Ken Burnley was the CEO then, and Lavonne actually was the deputy CEO. And Lavonne Sheffield was a straight shooter. You knew exactly where you stood with her. And if there were administrators, principals, or whomever who were not doing their jobs appropriately, they heard about it from Lavonne Sheffield real fast. We are mourning her today. A tremendous loss to the city of Detroit and to her family. You know, her sister Kathy, her brother, the Reverend Horace Sheffield, her niece, Mary Sheffield, who's a member of the city council, actually in my district, over in District 5. And the funeral is Monday, September the 13th. Monday, September the 13th, Lavonne's funeral will be at the Fellowship Chapel at 7807 West Outer Drive, Detroit, Michigan 48235. That's Fellowship Chapel at 7807 West Outer Drive, Detroit, Michigan 48235. The family hour will be 10 o'clock in the morning, and the service will be at 11. So rest in peace, Dr. Lavonne Sheffield, educator extraordinaire, a great lady and a great educator. Okay, we've got Bill Davis in the studio today, and we've got Tawana Simpson in the studio today. And I was hoping, Bill and Tawana, that we could talk a little bit about the purpose of the police commission. And I know that you're here representing Hood Research, and we want to talk a little bit about the candidates. So let me ask this question: What is the purpose of the police commission? Either one of you can answer.
Jump on in, Mr. Commissioner.
Well, originally the purpose was to supply a need, civilian oversight. Because I know when I was much younger, and before Coleman Young got into office, the police, like some of them are doing now too, was very
Close
bad.
to the mic, too, Bill.
Some of the police officers would stop you and harass you. I remember being stopped a number of times when I was young, and they would beat people up. They would, terrorize the black community. In fact, there was a couple of mayors that said that was one of their main functions. It was to keep the Negroes in their place. So the Board of Police Commissioners is civilian oversight. So if the civilians have a complaint, especially about demeanor or inappropriate actions by police officers, we investigate that. We do not pursue criminal matters. That we have internal affairs for that. But there's a whole lot of stuff. Because sometimes you have officers that use like the N-word, or discourage that don't treat people right. Like say if you are talking to a lady, you don't call her baby or honey and all that. You call
You're
them
talking
by
about
their
a
last
white
name.
officer using the N-word?
Yes, that has happened.
Man.
Right, everybody.
Yes. So ideally, you want a good board of police commissioners that will investigate and actively pursue bad officers, and we need to weed out bad officers. Most of the officers are doing their job, and they should make a lot more money and get better benefits than what they do. But the bad officers need to be gotten rid of.
How much money have we lost in litigation due to some of this stuff not being overseen by citizens the way it should? How much money has the city lost in misconduct?
The city has lost millions of dollars, tens of millions of dollars. In fact, most recently, the number of lawsuits had been going down. I expect some of them to go up, especially with some of the stuff that's been going on, given the pandemic. In fact, the city of Detroit did quite well overall, during the pandemic, because we had, especially after George Floyd, we had a whole lot of, people protesting the city of Detroit, like over 100 days, during the summer. But, fortunately for the city of Detroit, unlike a number of other places, we didn't loot, we didn't burn down no buildings, we didn't do a whole lot of riot type stuff. But, people, sometimes some people in some places feel that they have no other choice to do whatever they can to draw attention to the fact that they're being mistreated. And I do not advocate or support any rioting, but people need to know that we have an active police force, we have an active, interactive board of police commissioners who can be a little bit more active than what we are. But, fortunately for us, we did not have the same problems that many metropolitan areas did have.
Yeah, we've been lucky in that regard in the city of Detroit. There's a group called UCAC, United Communities Action Coalition, that I wrote the mission statement for, and I was their corresponding secretary for a while. And I'm hopeful that maybe Bill, Tawana, you guys can hook up with them. They're trying to to work with suburban communities as well as with the Detroit community. They're trying to work with suburban police departments to see if they can get the police departments to interact with them in a positive way, so we can cut down on this brutalization of black people, particularly black men. And we did have the mayor of Warren. I'm probably going to have him on this show maybe next week. Jim Fouts. He has expressed an interest in working with them. We had a meeting at the yacht club that I hosted on the 30th of July, and we had some disagreements at that time. We really didn't quite have our stuff together. So the executive board of UCAC is now postponing their meetings until they can do a little bit better planning. But when that happens, I'll probably be coming on this show again, and also on WCHB.
No,
go ahead, Sunanda.
I know there was significant proposals and significant input during the Proposal P project about the police commission. Can we go over some of those concerns before we go on to the next? Is that cool?
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, Proposal P should have passed.
God, it was a cultural war.
Right,
It was a cultural war.
Well, the powers that be, all the money, was behind defeating it, for reasons that are totally. I don't even want to get
Which
into
is
it.
a whole lot easier to defeat something if you don't put out no information.
That's the purpose of us coming together. That's the purpose of us going to all these different, because we need to figure out as citizens, what our charter is. I was so hurt. Not so much that P didn't pass, of course.
Well,
but
it's
the
terrible
fact
that it didn't
that
pass.
it's terrible.
The grassroots
but
Detroiters are suffering because of it.
That's correct. But most citizens that I spoke with didn't even know
That's right.
what the charter was. They didn't know that every 10 years we have an opportunity to update, make changes, and do those things so that our rules would fit the society that we're living in.
Right.
Because if you really sit down and think about this, 10 years ago, we hadn't been through a bankruptcy. We hadn't been through a pandemic.
That was a false bankruptcy too.
Of course.
And it
All of
cost
them
you
were.
your pension.
I know more so than anybody.
You know.
Mesquite and Albion.
Yeah, I mean, we had went through all that. So now, the aftermath of that, a lot of things happened under, during those past 10 years. At one point, the city owned the whole water department 100%. Now we don't.
No, we
so
turned it away.
Where do our tax money go? What is the percentage of our tax money we get out of this authority? How do it benefit Detroiters?
And historically, whenever we had a charter review commission up and they worked on proposals, historically the city strongly advertised that. They've been doing that for years. I've been involved in seeing a number of charter commissions over my years. And this is the one that they did very little advertising.
Yeah.
It's almost
That was
as if,
deliberate. That was deliberate.
right.
They said we go bankrupt again. That was the threat that they
which
put
was
out
not
there
true.
with no information.
The total
With
lie.
no
Absolute
information.
lie.
Just the word bankrupt.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's the easiest way to get somebody to vote
Yeah,
against
scare
them by not
tactics.
giving no information and just talk bad about it.
Yeah.
That's
financial terrorism.
Yes.
Stay close
And
to
no
your- stay close to your
education.
mic, Sunanda.
I mean, people just don't know. We only at this point, not just with Proposal P, even any election, all we get now is a few billboards, and I think you get something in the mail, but that's
I
it.
got my election connection for the vote in August, 3 days before the primary.
Oh, that's no time.
Historically, we used to get at least 30 days before that.
This is all deliberate. It's all deliberate.
You know what my students said? They just started getting yellow pages. They don't remember the yellow pages for like the past 10, 15, 20 years. And they remember the yellow pages
Oh, yeah,
being
you
this
see
thick,
that
like you
thing.
sat on
Oh,
the
yeah.
yellow pages to have breakfast.
Right.
And now,
And
finally they got yellow pages this thin.
Sunanda, we got a commercial.
And you are watching the John Telford Detroit Show, coming to you live, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to our various programmings. And thank you for supporting WJZZ TV, the coolest station in the world. And we have with us Police Commissioner Willie Davis and Tawana.
Bill Davis.
I'm a dork. William, I meant, and Bill, sorry.
It's all the
And
same.
Tawana Simpson. who's held several different positions all through the city, all through her life as an activist and as a local official.
Yeah. Well, you know what?
Sorry.
And I also forgot to mention that I am not the poet in residence at Southeastern High School anymore, for some reason or other. But I am still the poet in residence, and for all the other high schools. And I'm going around now just once a month to read my poetry, and we're going to get a poetry contest going.
Yes.
I've already discussed this with Dr. Vitti. We're going to get a poetry contest going, and we want the topic of the poetry to have something to do with activism, with social activism in the city. And I'll be talking more about that on both my shows, on WCHB and this show,
That sounds
WJZZ.
exciting.
That is.
And I
exciting.
encourage
Yeah.
people to read his books. I got 2 of them, signed copies. You know,
Yes, I
his
do too.
autograph books.
Yeah, which ones do you have? I think you got Life on the Run, don't you? You got
think
my
that one.
autobiography. Yeah, that one's wild.
On the Run.
A little bit R-rated, that one, but anyway. But
Yeah, you can read it upside down.
but back to our topic for today, and you know, don't Sunanda, don't let me forget to do at least a poem, because this is
Oh,
supposed to
heck
be
yeah.
a poetry show, but I keep going into the politics because it needs to happen right now. Okay, Bill and Tawana, are you satisfied with citizen oversight as it regards the police commission? That's a question for either one. of you.
As a citizen of Detroit, no, I'm gonna say no, and my no is because if it's citizen oversight, and it may sound a little biased, but I'm just gonna say it. I don't like that we have retired police
That's right.
officers on a
agree.
police commission, because that's the whole purpose, so that the police wouldn't police themselves.
Yeah.
When you retire from a job, but you don't retire from relationships and friends
That's right.
and
That's
things
right.
of that nature. So
Big
I'm
police
uncomfortable with
union.
that, but it's not to say that the people who are there that our retired police officer can't do their job. But I say this to the citizens of Detroit: that is one question you want to ask all your police commissioner candidates, if they have any background with the police. Because if they do, then you have to then trust your heart and your feelings how you vote at that point. But the police commission is oversight for civilians.
Right.
Right, it's a way that so civilians can feel comfortable coming forward and complaining about stuff. I personally think that we, like I say, we've had former law enforcement and the appointees voting as a block sometimes, I think, not in the best interest of the overall civilians of the city of Detroit. And I'm not saying that all former law enforcement is like that, but some of the ones we currently have and some of the appointees do vote as a block. And that sometimes we have stuff like, I'm personally opposed to facial recognition. As a police commissioner, as a father, of 2 sons in their 20s, and as president of the Detroit Chapter National Action Network, I am strongly opposed to facial recognition, principally because it makes mistakes.
Yeah.
Can I say
80%.
something?
Yeah, well, the
We're
facial
in a pandemic
recognition.
now. How do they know if people should be wearing their masks? I don't think we should be putting that type of money into something that you can only find out somebody's ears and eyes.
That whole
In fact, the city didn't put the money in. All the money came in from a private investor.
really.
Yeah.
That's
Oh, the
interesting.
city put some money in.
But they didn't have enough to afford this. They didn't have close to enough money to afford
Get closer to your mic, Sunanda.
to afford facial recognition. And this goes into not just Gilbert, but the larger stage of turning this into
Right,
a design
they're using
city.
Detroiters as guinea pigs to make
Yeah.
the system more effective on black people.
That whole facial recognition issue became a real brouhaha when Willie Burton got beat down. Do you remember what happened to him?
Yes, he was illegally detained and he was illegally arrested. Lisa Carter, who was chairing that meeting, did not have the authority to do that.
So they arrested one of our police commissioners?
Yeah,
Yes.
Willie is a police commissioner. He's also a National Action Network, as is Bill Davis. Bill is the
President.
What's your
The
actual
Detroit
title?
president. I'm president of the Detroit Chapter National Action Network, and Commissioner Willie Burton is one of our members.
Yeah,
And that was
and I'm
tragic.
a member too. And in fact, I was your education chair for the Detroit chapter, but I stopped doing it, because Helen's doing the whole thing. I felt that I was almost redundant, so.
Yes.
But maybe I'll come back to some of
One-woman
those
army.
meetings over at Dabo. I don't know if I can find the time, but
And also, everyone should know that Dr. Telford is one of our lifelong members.
Yes.
He paid up.
feel $500.
Right. So we do have a few lifelong members.
Yeah, lifelong member, lifetime member of
Yeah.
National Action Network.
So what happened after the arrest of Commissioner Willie Burton? What happened to like our understanding of how the police works with us?
Well, that was a tragic day, and that illustrates. In fact, I had a number of officers come up to me and tell me, said, Commissioner Davis, I wouldn't have followed that order, and I don't think it was a lawful order. I mean, it's sort of like, you have guards who was in the like say during the Nazi era,
Yeah.
where they say, well, I wouldn't follow that order. We have people that are following orders that should not be following.
That's right.
You should not be telling people to do something that's wrong. And like I told Lisa Carter and the rest of the board, potentially the board itself could have made a vote to have Commissioner Burton excluded from the meeting, but she did not and should not have, should not even thought she had the capability of having him removed from the meeting like that on her own.
Well, didn't
Like a
he just
criminal.
speak out
And she's a former
vehemently?
law enforcement.
I mean, what started
Sounds
the
personal.
thing? I wasn't there, and I don't think I saw a tape of it, but didn't he just speak out very vehemently opposing the facial recognition?
Yes, he continues to do that.
So what's wrong with that? I mean, why would they?
Well, it goes along with the green light program. And so if you are a business, you have higher insurance rates unless you pay out to this green light program. And the green light program means that you will also use the facial recognition technology.
Well,
So businesses have very few options.
And a business
that
shouldn't
way.
have to pay $400 or $500 or $600 more a month
Yeah.
so that they could get good police service.
But if they don't, they might not come.
well, he was aware that this facial recognition can make mistakes and discriminate against dark complected people. So this is a flawed process that should not be imposed, and he was speaking out to defend his constituency and say we can't have this.
And-
So how is it? I still don't understand how he could have been attacked and beaten down for doing what he was supposed to do as a police commissioner.
That happens all the time. That happens all the time. And since that time, we have 2 black men that's been arrested, falsely arrested, on misinformation
right.
because of that. One of them, which my heart went out for, a black man that lived in a white community that, had his neighbors watching the police come and arrest this black man in front of his wife and then his kids. Something like that should never
A
happen.
mistaken identity, right?
Mistaken identity.
So there's no reason why that. And I mean,
Another lawsuit coming.
the
Oh, yeah.
the police chief was a black man. How could he have? I mean, wasn't he aware that this is a flawed process?
But this is being pushed through the business community, and that's part of the
The
problem.
police chief we had was appointed by the emergency manager.
That's
That
right.
was,
Remember,
who was
Chief,
that? Oh,
Chief
Kevin,
Craig,
Kevin Orr.
Kevin Orr
Oh yeah.
appointed Chief Craig.
He's running for governor now as a Republican.
Right.
And he's been a friend too. I mean, I got to full disclosure.
Oh,
Yeah,
I
it's
know,
all right.
Chief
And I could
Craig.
be
I know his
voting for
dad,
him.
and I know I worked with his brother in the water department.
But
I'll be voting for Whitmer. I can tell you that.
But there's going to be a lot
she
of
does something
people
for us.
that might be voting for Chief Craig. Because-
Why ever would they do that? Why would
Well,
anyone
don't
in
we,
their right
don't you
mind
think
vote
we
for
need
a
more black
Republican in
men
this town?
infiltrating the Republican Party? I mean, isn't that just good news, period?
No.
A one-party system is a bad system.
Well, believe me,
I'm
we
a
don't
Democrat, but I think a one-party system is a bad system.
I'm
Need,
a
that is a
third-party
bad system.
person.
One-party system is a bad system. But right now, man, if we don't get Whitmer back in there,
Are you sure? How has she helped us so far?
well, the question it's a question of
Proposal P, school funding,
Yeah, I know.
facial
I-
recognition.
Oh, I know. I personally asked her when she was running about the pension tax. Because Governor Snyder,
I wouldn't mind you helping.
put in place a tax on people's pensions in the state of Michigan. I specifically asked her about that because I'm also president of a group called Detroit Active Retired Employee Association. And a lot of my members complained about having to pay a pension tax that they didn't have to pay before that. And some of the much older pensioners still don't have to pay. and she said she's going to look into it. 4 years later, she's still looking into it.
So they
Nothing's
took
happened.
away a lot of pension, and now they're taxing them too.
Yes, they
I
cut
didn't know
they
that.
cut our pensions. Public. Like I said, I worked
know
for the
they
city of
tax
Detroit for 34 years in the water department. They cut my pension. They cut a lot of thousands of city of Detroit residents' pensions and pensioners all over the country
And
from
Whitmer
the city of Detroit.
also moved to have the literacy case erased from the docket history. So we got $93 million, but all that work that the lawyers put in doesn't exist now.
When you
Well,
get a
maybe this-
bureaucrat, go ahead.
Well, I would say maybe this is a perfect time to invite Governor Whitmer to come down to Detroit and talk with grassroots community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
she sure did that at first.
She
Oh,
always,
she should do it again. I think
Yeah.
it's a perfect
she
time.
always sends
Yeah.
her lieutenant governor. He was on my show. I've never had her on my show. I did have Jennifer Granholm on my show, but I never.
Well, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
think,
but-
I mean, this is a perfect time for her to come on down.
She
come
could
on
be
down.
she could be beaten if
Come
she
on to
doesn't get
Detroit.
90% of the vote in Detroit.
Wow.
And she's gonna have to get the
It's
vote.
like
And,
that.
and I think Chief Craig could pick up 15 to 20% of the vote.
The handicap that he has, and I guess I'm counting on it because I don't want to see a Republican governor.
I don't know.
But you remember when we had a sheriff run?
William Lucas.
Yeah, Bill Lucas, a good man by the way, ran for governor, and he would have made a good governor even though he was Republican. But those rednecks out in the hinterlands, they weren't going to put a black man in office, and I think those same people are going to vote against this guy. Because you got racists out there. I mean, let's face it, they're not.
But some of those same racists
racism got dug in the
love
office, too.
Donald Trump. If Donald Trump supports him, some of those same racists will support Chief Craig.
Well,
That's
Donald
right.
Trump does support him. And
Yeah,
he
does.
he quotes Donald Trump, right, left, and sideways. And while we're at it, maybe this is the time for me to do a Donald Trump poem if I can find it. Okay,
Why don't you do that poem?
Well, let me do this one. The turd that hasn't flushed yet. That's the title of the poem. The turd. You can say that in this show.
Okay.
Not on WCHB. the turd. Although I did it on WCHB too. The turd that hasn't flushed yet. God yet hasn't pushed the lever on the traitor Trump forever. And when he does, if justice for what Trump has done to this democracy is accordingly appropriately served, the lever will be that of the gas chamber. And if that's a bridge too far, folks, I know some people don't believe in capital punishment.
I don't believe my tax dollars going into gas chambers.
Well, this gas chamber I'd like to see Trump in. And you know what? If we can't put him in the gas chamber, let's at least get that lying, conniving, crazy buffoon.
Let's just get him in Kabul.
Let's get him in a federal prison because
That's
that's
right.
where he belongs. Look what he did on January the 6th. Okay, so that's
That was
one
treasonous.
Yes.
That's right. He was committing treason. I mean, what did they do? What would they have done to Benedict Arnold if they had caught him and he hadn't fled
If the
back to
same
England?
thing had happened January 6th, if those had been mostly black people,
Oh,
they
they all
would have been
been-
shot.
And minorities.
They would
yeah.
have been shot.
Any
This
minority.
country,
They'd have
no
been-
matter what people believe, this country is still racist.
That's right. They'd have been shot, hanged, electrocuted, and the Rosenbergs. Remember what they did to the Rosenbergs?
Yeah.
Electrocuted them. Ethel and Julius Rosenberg. Oh yeah. If Trump had been a black man, you bet that his neck had been stretched.
If those traitors in January 6th had been black, they would have been
That's
shot.
absolutely right. That's absolutely.
They wouldn't have done that if they were. They know they would have been shot.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, anyway, back to the topic. Oh, commercial again.
And good morning. You are watching John Telfer Detroit live, coming to you on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to us. And thank you for watching WJZZ TV, the coolest station in the world.
Yeah. Okay. And thank you, Dr. Sananda Corrado, for that commercial. Okay, we were talking about facial recognition, and I think that we pretty much recognize that we do not need it. That question has been pretty well answered by Tawana Simpson and Bill Davis, who were on the John Telfer Detroit show, co-hosted by Dr. Sananda Corrado of Columbia University and the Wayne County Community College today. Okay, this is another question. that I've got written down that I want to ask. Do you think, Tawana and Bill, do you think the chief of police should live in Detroit?
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And Chief Craig did live in the city of Detroit.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
And still does.
And still does. But the current chief doesn't. Most of our
Must be
executives,
objective.
our police executives don't. Only 15% of our Detroit police executives live in the city of Detroit. Over 75% of the rank and file Detroit police officers live outside the city of Detroit. That's why some residents view the Detroit Police Department as an occupying army.
Well,
And when they pull police officers, they say they would never come into the city with their kids and stuff. So you see that there's a huge cultural divide just in attitude. And they're the ones providing the safety and don't want to bring their kids in.
that's because of our school district. And,
Which is horrible.
Yeah, don't get me started on that. And Tawana, you know better than anybody. I mean, but you know, our at least our superintendent of schools, Dr. Nikolai Vidi, does live in the city.
Yeah.
And his kids are going to school in the city, as far as I know. So that's a good thing. But
In my opinion, all appointees should live in the city of Detroit.
Amen. Well,
Because all appointees are
Appointees.
at-will employees.
That's true.
They're at will, so yeah, I agree with that.
Well,
I would like to see our whole police force living here like it used to be, but I know that's unconstitutional for some reason.
I would like to see all our principals, school principals, live in the city. I would like to see all of our teachers live in the city. I live in the city. You know, I teach poetry, or did teach poetry at Southeastern, you know, which was my school, you know, many years ago when I was track coach there 60 years ago, and that's kind of my home.
I'm a crusader.
Crusader, King.
King, that's right.
Yeah, Martin Luther King. You know, I was there too. I was track coach there when I was English department head. But that was way before your time.
But they brought about a lot of programs, right? Like the land bank was going to give them houses for such and such, and none of that stuff panned out.
The land bank is a miserable failure.
Really?
I wouldn't touch it. If I don't know.
Yeah.
Some people do, some people don't. I don't know. It's a lot going on.
Well, I heard a lot of ballots coming out of empty houses.
Oh yeah.
Probably has a lot of ballots coming out of empty houses.
You know.
Yeah.
We need oversight over our elections.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we definitely need oversight over our elections. A lot of things need to change. I think that it's horrible that it's still on the book that if something is broken, that you can't count that. I think that it still should be considered. We really need to sit down and look at our election laws, because I don't believe up until the pandemic there have been even change to look at. I mean, I know because of the pandemic, and which I found encouraging, but still make me say, that the legislators, no one had anything, it was no fight about if everybody should get their absentee ballot in the mail. I mean, everybody just agreed to that. That really made me eerie. There was no argument, no fight, no nothing. And I don't know if it was because of the pandemic or not, but
It's
really weird when they can't come together on things that make sense. And that, I'm not going to say it don't make sense, but
It's really bad in the city of Detroit and other places if you can't recount ballots because the seal
is broken.
The seal
Yeah.
is broken. That makes it easier for people to cheat. That makes people think that they can get away with cheating.
Well, people do. I'm definitely a victim of that. Definitely.
Yeah.
Last
you
last
should
last
be on
police
the
election.
school board right now.
Right.
And
Last election. Last school board election. Well, the first school board election
one.
when they changed from
2014,
11 members
2014.
to 2014 to 2016.
Was it 2016?
From 11 members to 7. I was third. I was congratulated. News.
I remember.
All the news
remember.
reported, people, international news, because we were still under that emergency
Yes, I
management
congratulated
thing.
you on
Emergency
Facebook before
financial
I went to
Celebrate
bed.
her.
Everything. Woke up the next morning, 10 o'clock. I went from 3rd to 8th.
That's just
3rd to
fantastic.
8th.
That was.
Anything
That's
can happen with
fantastic.
Detroit elections.
Anything can
Yeah.
happen. Lights go off, all kinds of things.
Regular lights goes off. How could you always lose power at election headquarters on election day?
shoot. Now, I had a student who was working in the elections offices, and she said when they were trying to open up
Closer to the
the
mic,
mail-in
Fernanda.
boxes.
Closer to the mic.
Oh, it's okay. It picks up.
Does
it's
it?
all, yeah, it's
Okay.
all good. It's all
All
good.
right. Okay.
But she said when they were trying to open up the ballots, that damaged them, and then they couldn't count it. So they were throwing out ballots that they didn't count by the hundreds.
Right.
One
So
office, at least.
it's just like our charter, You know, these things, it's time, after a while, it's time to look at some things. You know, we
Yeah.
got technology now that we didn't have maybe when that was in place.
Yeah.
Maybe someone can create a machine that opens them properly so no ballot could be wasted from that purpose. You know? I don't know. I mean, you know.
I mean,
Yeah.
the most fundamental function of a
it's a
democracy
paper ballot.
is voting
paper
and
ballot.
elections, and if there's a problem with that, we're in real trouble.
We in real trouble.
But we are in, we've been in real trouble for the past 20 years. Our vote probably counts 20% of what it used to.
Well, and we had a poor excuse for
So
a
many
president
renters.
who tried to steal the election. And there are people in this country that believe that there was an attempt to steal the election and that Joe Biden is not the real president, which he is. But there are so many of these, I don't call them Republicans anymore. I call them Retrumplicans.
But I don't like to talk about it at the federal level because, I mean, whatever's happening, but at the Wayne County level, elections
Local.
have been stolen for generations now. You know what I mean? It's a way of life.
Politics are local.
Yeah, it's
Oh,
way before
boy.
Biden and Trump came into office that we had our problems with elections.
Oh yes, it
You know
goes,
what I mean?
It goes back decades.
Yeah,
in the city of Detroit.
and so when they say all elections are great because Biden's in, they're kind of denying the
No.
fact that we don't get to choose who we want on the ground just because he got in fine.
And the
See,
local elections are even more important than the federal elections.
Absolutely.
And you know, some things that I realize that I also experience is that the election commission really don't pay attention or, you know, try to, you know, even work with people who run for precinct delegate. You
That's
almost have to fight and pull out teeth just to get your credentials, you know, once you won as a precinct delegate. And it's just, and this is the reason why Hood Research and Detroit NAN, United Precinct Delegates, and many other co-sponsors we're all like, okay,
Keep the vote, no takeover.
keep the vote, no
Ellen Moore's
takeover.
group.
Helen Moore, everybody. We all need to come together and start working more closely on education.
That's
Yes.
right. You know, there are too many silos. You know, this group is doing this and this group is doing that, but we all need to get together. All
And-
of the activists need to get together
And not get
communicate.
together to have a common belief, which we should, but you know, I don't want it to sound like that, but we all need to have common places we go get information.
That's right.
And right now, that's, you know, like I said, I felt so bad most people didn't even understand what the charter is. I feel bad that most people don't understand the purpose of our police commission. But this is where our charter come in place, where bylaws come in place, and we have an opportunity to make this a teachable moment. And we teach people how to find the information.
Right.
So,
right.
with that being said, if you want to know candidates that's running, our charter says that the city clerk should provide that information to you. They
It's not
actually
happening.
charge you for it sometimes, but sometimes they don't, sometimes they do. But it's just like 10 cents a sheet. They say you got to pay for the paper and the ink. I understand that. It's not nothing astronomical or anything like that. And then, you know, I hear a lot of people say, well, I have to research that person. I have to research this commission. I have to research what Proposal P is. So we have to make sure that we have information out there for them to research, because when I Googled Police Commission election 2021, hardly anything came up. So
Yeah.
if an average person just did that and say, well, if anything come up, it must not be important. So we have to, that's why we're here. We want to educate people.
I had a couple of folks running for city clerk, and they came on the station, and so then I interviewed them. Mike Richard,
and Beverly.
and also my student, you know, Beverly Kendall Walker. She was my student years
I
ago.
know both of them.
Yeah, no,
And I love Beverly. I mean, I was supporting her all the way. But now there's apparently a candidate who has emerged. What's the gentleman's name?
all I can remember is his first name.
Well,
Denzel McCampbell.
Denzel
Yeah,
McCampbell.
Denzel.
Yeah. I've tried to get in touch with him. I'll bring him on here if he wants to come on. And if Denzel, Mr. McCampbell, if you're listening today, you know, you're welcome to contact me at 313-460-8272, and we'll set up a date for you to come on the John Telford Detroit show, because I think we need a change in that city clerk's office if we're ever going to.
Well,
Here's
we
the thing,
actually
can't
need
we
change in the rules, because I don't think that the city clerk should be overseeing an election for themselves.
Right.
That's the truth.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, you know, to have the last word on every
All right, that seems unethical.
I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe back, 40, 50 years ago when they put this in the charter, people lived differently. People had different reasons for doing the things they do.
Higher moral standards.
Higher moral standards is what I really wanted to say, and thank you, Bill, for that.
Call it like it is. I mean, cheating is cheating.
Cheating is cheating, right?
And cheating got easier.
Oh, man.
So, I mean, that's one thing we need to look at right there alone.
Amen. Amen. Okay, another question for you guys. Back to the topic. To the topic. We're talking about.
Can
the
we go
police
back to the last question though? Can we at least make sure the Chiefs got to stay in Detroit? I mean, if it's unconstitutional for everything else, that's fine. But can't we have a residency requirement for the chief of police?
How about all the police? They should all live here.
But
the
we
teachers should
gotta
all live
start-
here.
We have to
It's
start
virtually
somewhere.
impossible to do it for all the police.
Yeah, because
Of the state law and their contracts. They have one of the strongest union contracts you can imagine.
Police
but,
unions.
But the mayor, in and of himself, can appoint only people to live in the city of Detroit. Just like the mayor, if a person chooses not to live in the city of Detroit, if they're an appointee, which means they are an at-will employee, they could terminate them.
Right.
Period.
They could practice it.
If the mayor wanted to, he could have all of his appointees either live in the city or look for a job.
Well, we've got two mayoral candidates now. It's down to two mayoral candidates, and I think we need to get a mayoral forum. I think the two guys, it's Anthony Adams and Mike Duggan. I think they need to come in and debate each other and be confronted with the issues and make a statement about each issue and tell us where they stand.
Well, I know that there's going to be a town hall meeting on September the 16th. I don't know if that debate is going to happen, but I know that all candidates are welcome to come and share their platforms.
When is this and where?
September the 16th at Horatio Williams Center. And forgive me for not knowing the time, but I will know the time before the end of the show.
Oh, okay. So Tawana's gonna look that up. But
That's in the downtown area.
Antinium. I know it's on Antinium, but I'm
Right.
going to look for it.
It's not far from Greektown, not far from Gratiot.
Okay, well, so the two candidates are gonna be there.
No,
Not
I think
necessarily.
all candidates were invited
Oh, they've
to
been invited.
participate in a
Okay,
town hall to share their platforms.
Or the ladies. We're the League of Women Voters. Detroit used to have a real strong League of Women
They
Voters.
still do. They still
Right.
do.
Aren't in other cities they help with these debates happen, right, between major
If I can,
officials. What's going on
if
here?
I can say, a lot of our organizations like that were headed by a lot of older people.
Yeah.
So
we're
I'm
dying
not-
off.
I get it.
And I believe that's our problem with the League of Women Voters. Not that the president is older, but I know that she's, caregiving for a lot of people. And so, remember, we're just kind of still in a pandemic, but that doesn't mean...
We are still in the pandemic.
We're in a pandemic, you're right. That doesn't mean that other people can't take that
But
mantle.
I used to work I established a League of Wayne State, and I used to work at, it didn't last, and I used to work at the League in New York, and if you couldn't get information, you called the League of Women Voters, like, for instance, on Proposal P if you wanted, and it's like, you don't even look at them as a referent for information in the city. And I find that, because they were all old ladies there, too.
And we could use a whole lot more references, unbiased, just fact-based.
Facts-based.
Yeah, but I see they work a
information.
lot with Citizens Detroit, the League of Women Voters. I see that.
Commercials, Ananda.
Ah, yes. And you're watching the John Telford Detroit, coming to you live, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, and Twitter, and other top social media platforms. Please like, follow, share, comment, and subscribe to us. And thank you for watching Wjzz Cool TV, one of the few black-owned media platforms we have in this city. Thank you.
And back to a question about the police commission. Tawana Simpson, Bill Davis, do you think the mayor has too many appointees? And I presume, I'm talking about the police commission. Do you think that he has too many appointees?
I could say I do. Yes.
Tawana?
Well, I can answer that question from a mathematical point. If he has 4 and it's 11, and it only takes 2 to persuade 2 other The other ones, that's just not, to me, it's not fair. It's just not fair. Because if you're appointed, you're going to do the business of who appointed you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
That's just, I mean, you're going to work at their pleasure. So I really think that what happened to the school board should happen to the police commission. I think that we should go down to nine members, 7 elected, and 2 appointed by the mayor.
And I think that would be workable, more workable.
So you're saying that the police commission should be reduced, the 9 members, from 9 members, there should be maybe 7 elected and 2 appointed?
And
Is
2
that
appointed, yeah. Opposed to having 4 appointed, because those, when you do that, then you actually, stacking the deck.
Yes.
And if any of the elected ones leave office, the mayor gets to appoint a replacement until there's an election.
Ooh, that's not good.
No, it has
Right.
happened recently.
But and it's the same thing with
Sound
our
like the
city
Supreme-
council, believe it or
Supreme
not.
Court, what happened with the Supreme Court, with
It's
Obama
it's-
not getting able
this-
to
this-
appoint Merrick Garland.
this weird math also happens in our city council, because if our city council is elected by districts and we only have 2 at large, when do you get 5 votes for the people in any one district? It makes no sense. No, but no, we have to look at this so
Oh, it
people can really
hurts.
understand.
It really
So
hurts.
I live in District 5. You got 2 members as city at large, right? So that's 3 votes for whatever we need to happen in District 5. Why would it be beneficial for anyone in the other districts to vote? How do we get 5 votes for the people on the city council?
So presently the mayor.
So it's pretty much the same on the police
It's
commission.
sabotage.
Let me the mayor gets 4 appointees, and the citizens elect 7 by district. That's
Yeah,
the way
but
it works?
see that looks like the people get something. No, we just get to elect 7 people. But when it comes down to a vote, school board, 11, you need 6 votes. 6 is a magic number.
So
the
maybe-
mayor already has 4.
So maybe the mayor should
Or the
have.
appoint-
So for anything to get pulled through, you got to work with his people.
So you're saying
Period.
the mayor. You're
And it should
saying
be the
Period.
opposite
you're
way.
saying
Yeah.
you're saying to be fair. Then the mayor should have 2, but the citizens should keep the 7. Is that what
Of
you're
course,
saying?
because they're elected by
Reduce the
districts.
appointees.
Okay.
Absolutely. That sounds
Okay.
good.
So you got to look at the math backwards.
Yeah.
Not how many people getting elected. That's just the shine. But when you get down to the work, and Mr. Tafford, you know the work that we have to do behind the scenes
Oh,
when
do
you're
I
on a
ever.
board or a commission.
Oh yeah.
You have to, call your colleagues. I mean, every night I called all my colleagues that accepted my phone calls and at least said good night, or how was the meeting, how you doing?
For real?
Because I actually did that.
Oh,
Yeah, I
wow.
believe it.
I actually did that.
Yeah.
And so you have to do more than just, debate and understand this. You have to create relationships.
Yeah.
You have to figure out how do it benefit the people that they're representing, their constituents or whomever. But at that point we were elected citywide. So it was easier for us to find common ground. But when you're divided up in districts, then what District 5 may need might not be what District 7 needs.
That's true.
And I'm just
So
little things.
they could pull the voting block apart
Right.
more easily that way by overlapping people.
And
Right.
if you have a strong mayor that don't like you, make it easier for him to run somebody against you and raise funds against you.
Yeah.
Right.
And then all of a sudden you've got these economic zones opening up in a place that might have had not, and then you got new people. It's amazing the plumbing of the city.
Yeah, so
Or how the
I
capital
call
should-
it the weird math.
Yeah.
I mean, I tried my best to try to explain to people.
And police don't really need representation. They got the police union. When they screw up, they get sent to Grosse Pointe. You know what I mean? They get a big house and all. So like the police really don't need that much backup. Their union is impregnable.
Well, they've always had
That
a-
is the one union that just doesn't fall.
Yeah, that's
You know
right.
what I'm saying?
They've always had a strong
Probably the
union.
most dangerous union
You know,
there is.
And I'm a strong advocate of unions. I was
Yeah.
at Ask Me Stewart.
Me
I was
too.
a
Me too.
UAW
Well, people
chief
guns.
steward. But they have
Yeah.
a very strong union.
Our military don't have a
You
union.
know, just
How
like
our police have
like
a
say,
union?
if John here was a bad cop and he did something bad, and he gets written up and he gets suspended with
Yeah.
pay, is that a real does that really discourage you if you're going to get
That attitude
vacation?
promotes you into
Well,
the
that
cities
union
and the
was
suburbs.
powerful. It's still Norm Lippett used to be.
It's because of that
Remember
union.
Norm Lippett became a judge.
Right. It's because
He
of
just
that
died,
union that they
Norm
pushed for get rid of residency.
Yeah.
With Engler and Dennis Archer.
Norm Lippett was one hell of a sprinter too. I ran against him. He ran 109.7 and beat him though. But he ran for UAD. Anyway, we've got to and when we had you on the school board, and that great school board with the president was Lamar Lemons. And we
Herman Davis.
Herman Davis was on that board, and Juvette Hawkins Williams, and Patricia Singleton. You guys were a great board, not just because you made me superintendent. But that
might be biased.
No, we actually had to come together because unfortunately we were not creating policy. We were saving our public schools.
That's right.
Traditional
Wow,
public
that's right,
schools.
that's right.
So our mission was different.
Yeah.
So we had to work together. We had to find our common grounds, and we did it. And we did it. And
It was an amazing
every
time.
Elena Harada.
Elena Rahada, most definitely Elena, Lamar, Herman, and
what a great.
and we can't and
Who's
this
the
is
guy who passed? He was really good too.
Reverend Murray. I just want to say
Reverend David Murray.
R.I.P. Reverend David Murray.
Yeah.
A great man.
Great school board. But we were operating under emergency financial mismanagement, and our powers were somewhat limited.
Not somewhat. They were
Called the board in exile, right?
Right, it was the board in exile.
We tried to get a reading program in, and he opposed that. That was a quick to learn program.
And Upward Bound. Remember?
Upward Bound.
Upward Bound. They rejected Upward Bound. Yeah. No matter what they came to us and told us that they would allow us to do, we went back, we did the work, we presented it, and we were slapped down every time.
And I remember telling him, we're going to defeat this emergency manager law, this Public Act 4. And it went up. It went up for we defeated
in the country.
We defeated
country.
it. We defeated it.
We defeated it, and then they added appropriation to it.
They put it right back in.
The
Governor Snyder and the Republican legislature put it right back in.
And added
Public Act
appropriation.
436. And the minute they did that, the good board got disempowered, and the next day I got fired from the superintendency. And an interesting wrinkle to that was that this emergency financial manager really wasn't that bad a guy. He came to me later. He came to me.
You have to.
He's so full of love. I gotta love it.
I'm not.
I got to tell you the story. He came to me and said,
he's a turd.
Well, he said, I've been duped. He said they sent me in here to turn out the lights,
He's
and I didn't.
going to hell.
He told Elena Harada the same thing.
He told all of us.
Conversation. He told, So what are you going to do?
Well, I think if he comes out and says to the Detroit News that he was sent to blow up the schools, he didn't get what he thought he was going to get out of it. That's what I think.
Yeah, well,
that's what I think. I think they robbed him, robbing us.
Emergency management has been bad for the people, especially for people of color throughout this state. It's been used as a club to demonize and get rid of political power in the black community.
The only city that got its services back after emergency financial management twice has been Hamtramck. Everywhere else.
No, it was one other place. One of those. What's
like
Allen Park, Lincoln Park. One of them.
But no predominantly black.
But that wasn't a predominantly black community.
That's exactly it. It just stole all of these. And so we were fighting for Detroit public schools, and they were closing down all these schools that people are going to be forced to go into these communities and find there are no schools. And I kind of felt like we were duped when we were all fighting for this when we should have been fighting for Michigan public schools. Yeah. It was just so seeded the way they did it.
Yeah. So are you going to tell us what date and time for the
the time? Let's get to it.
Yeah, September 16th, Williams Center downtown.
That's one. That's a town hall.
Town hall.
On the Horatio Williams Center.
Yeah.
And
the Board of Police Candidates Forum?
Yeah. So we're having a Hood Research co-sponsor, United Precinct delegates, and others. I'm sorry I don't have my list, the list of others. We're still adding on our co-sponsors. We're going to have a candidates forum at 5555 Samaritan. No, I'm sorry, Connor, at the Samaritan Center.
Yes.
But this candidate forum is not open to the general public. Our audience.
Give me the total information on that, and I'll talk about it Saturday when I go on.
Okay, so the
after
audience
tomorrow
will
on
be invited guests,
WCHB.
precinct delegates, because we want to be responsible because we're still in the pandemic.
Right.
So we're going to invite some precinct delegates to witness this, and we're going to live stream it to all the platforms.
Cool.
And so
All
we want
social media.
all social media platform and Hood Research's website. So we want the general public as well as precinct delegates, whether you're a Republican, Libertarian, or Democrat, to participate, because this is a teachable moment. We want to educate people. We want to show our citizens how you find out information about candidates.
So, could you tell us more about Hood Research and your website?
Okay,
because
Hood
you keep
Research.
talking about where to get information.
Hood Research website is, you can Google Hood Research and it should come right up. But their email address is contact@hoodresearch.org.
Hoodresearch.org.
And Hood Research is a nonprofit organization. Hood Research does not endorse candidates. Hood Research does not endorse candidates. And I'm going to say it one more time. Hood Research does not endorse candidates, but this is an informational forum, a candidates forum, so that we can get to know who our police commissioners, the candidates
are.
who
Right.
the candidates are.
Because some of them are just write-in candidates because the questionable practices with the Detroit election process.
Yes.
I think somebody's challenging one of the candidates who's under indictment going to be a write-in, because that candidate is unopposed. I'm trying to remember
Yes.
which one it is. Is it
Benson?
Ayers or is it Benson?
It's Benson, because Benson is running unopposed.
Yeah.
Okay, well, there's a lady that's going to do a write-in.
It's probably at least 3 people doing write-ins.
They all ought to get together, just one of them, because they'll cancel each
Dilute
other's
each
votes.
other, right.
That's what happened to us one time when we tried to run for school board.
Boards, right.
Uh,
At this candidates forum, we're going to take questions live from our social media platforms, live from our invited guests in the audience, and Hood Research organization. And we're doing this so that we can create an avenue and a way that people can, find places
Raise
to go
awareness for
and
it.
raise awareness and find out what it is that we need to know. Because, we were all kind of disappointed with that Prop P situation, and it was mainly because people just didn't know.
I think we're out of time, you guys. I think we got to.
Yes.
Oh, so we'll be
Yeah.
revisiting the situation soon. So we know, Tawana Simpson, that you're related to Hood Research. You helped found it. You helped found one of those fountains of knowledge that we can actually compare.
No, I'm not.
literature.
I'm not a co-founder. I'm just a member.
Oh, you're a
Sunanda,
member.
we need
To
the
me, you
music
found
and lead on
everything.
that.
I'm sorry, you're a member. And then,
Theo Broughton is a founder of
Yeah,
Hood
Right,
Research,
Theo
and Reggie Crawford.
Theo Broughton
Thank
and
you.
Reginald Crawford, they founded Hood
Hood
Research
Research.
almost 30 years
Years
ago.
ago.
dang,
Sunanda,
thank
we
you
gotta
for
get
telling
the
me
lead
this.
out in the
Yeah, but
music.
then we also need to ask for viewers who might want to
30
also
seconds
talk to
left.
Bill Davis how they can contact our
Sunanda, the
police
lead out and the
commissioner.
music, please.
We got 30 seconds for him. We got 2 minutes. So
Okay,
do
we'll
you want to
it.
do the lead out and then get us information?
Yeah, do the lead out, and
Okay.
because I'm trying to sell my book, so do the lead out.
Okay. Here we go. And you've been listening to the John Telford Detroit Show with Dr. John Telford and co-host Dr. Sunanda Samather Corrado on Wjzz Cool TV on Thursdays from 10 to 11 in the morning, streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. It was the late and great Dr. Wayne Dyer who said, Dr. John Telford has a warrior's heart and a poet's soul. Listen also to Dr. Telford on WCHB AM 1340, Saturday mornings at 9:30 and Monday evenings at 6:30. And tune in again next week, Thursday morning at 10 o'clock. And thank you for listening. And for those who still are with us for a minute, how can we get in touch with Commissioner Davis if we have any questions about what's going
Well,
on?
if you have any questions, you can call me on my city cell phone, 313-316-2603. Or you could email me at davisw7bopc@detroitmi.gov.
Hope that gets on. Say it again.
And that's davisw7bopc@detroitmi.gov.
Thank you. And any contact information with you working with hoodresearch.org?
Yeah, you can. Yeah. Just contact. You can any information for myself. I can. My personal email address is tsimpson.board@gmail.com. But just contact Hood Research. We'll see you in those social media streets.
Thank you, everyone. Good